Fellow trash tasters, you're probably here to make one of these. Ooh, Or you're here to win them in the charity giveaway. Or you're simply a bunch of weirdos who enjoy watching electronic videos. Well, you've came to the right place, but if you're here for the giveaway, I would suggest watching the main video first for more details. But a short disclaimer, I am in no way, shape, or form affiliated with Trash Taste. This is just a fan project, and if they don't really want to support this project, that is completely understandable, and they have every right to shut this down. In case you haven't seen the main video yet, a short recap. This is the Trash Mic, designed after the Trash Taste logo with 5 characters. Once placed onto the lid, each character will scream at you. Each Trash Man will come with 10 sound bites from the show, and if you want to constantly have them in your heads, you can enter the charity giveaway. And to enter, simply comment, like, and share this video around. Then fill out this Google form. What's that? 3 entries is not enough? Never said that. Well, you're in luck. See, the main part of this project is to raise money for charity as well, so the best way to enter is to follow the link in the description and donate to one of these 3 charities: the Immune Deficiency Foundation, Doctors Without Borders, and Make-A-Wish. Tiltify will be the website used to track these donations, as they have a direct depositing system, meaning I never see the money, it all goes straight to charity. Each dollar will be considered an entry, so if you want to donate $1 million, you'll get 1 million entries. And to make sure that the focus is within this project, I made this temporary YouTube channel, which will be deleted about a month after the giveaway. So you can do whatever you want to it, and it doesn't matter. So go ahead, like, comment, share. It's not going to help me, but it will help promote the video and therefore help raise money for charity. The giveaway will end on October 1st, 2023, and the live polling will start the following week, October 8th. Though, depending on volume, if there's a lot of people, it might happen the following week. I am just one guy. During the live polling, a winner will be selected for the regular Trash Mic. Then another winner will be selected for the Trash Taste After Dark Mic, which are both cool because they're made out of recycled PETG. There's also a possibility that you could get these 3 special edition Trash Mics, but I would suggest heading over to the main for more about that. Alright, with all that said, it's time to make a Trash Mic. Well, kinda. I should preface by saying that this is not a project for beginners. You should have a good understanding and experience in electronics, Arduino programming, and soldering. Knowing how to CAD for 3D printing would help as well, but not necessary. After all, we are dealing with high heat and, for some people, LiPo batteries. That being said, I, and especially the people working with Trash Taste, are not responsible for any iterations or attempts at this project. So, proceed with caution. At the very least though, any hobbyist can 3D print a simple trash can on a mic stand. I've already released the model on Thingiverse, so if you're not all that great in electronics or soldering, you can still make a pretty cool piece and throw a light in it, and there you go! Okay, without further ado, let's spend some money! The only thing longer than long is shipping. So it's probably going to be a good idea to start ordering everything now. I've sorted everything into a bill of materials, but there is one hot tamale that might be really hard to source. That being the battery. I sourced mine from Five Below. It was thin, had power passed through, and it meant that I didn't have to make a charging circuit. Definitely not because it was cheap. This might be a tad more difficult because you might not live near Five Below, or they might just not stock this specific battery. Or you live in some dystopian future where they use all the batteries to power robots and The Trash Mic was designed to fit this specific battery. So if you can't really obtain it, there are a few things that you could do. The simplest and most recommended way is to just use wall power. Find a really long compatible cable that would fit into your Arduino. If you choose to follow down this path, then I would recommend getting this version of the PCB for ease of access. I have also never ordered nor attempted to use this board before, so let me know how it goes. The other option is to, of course, use a different power bank or to design one of your own. In either method, I would recommend slightly changing the CAD file for the inner can so that you could either fit the battery or fit the cable through one of the holes. Also, if you're sourcing another battery, make sure that it fits on the motherboard as well as between the inner can and the outer can as well. Now that you've used your yoke on this congression of trash, let's head on to the audio. You could just use the audio that I've uploaded. It's already compressed at 88 kilobits per second, so you don't have to deal with that headache. But if you want to use your own list of audio, you're going to want to download Audacity. First, import your audio. Right click and split track to mono and delete one of them. Go to audio setup, audio settings, and where it says project sample rate, change that to 1125 Hz. Go to File, Export, and Wave. Make sure that the encoding is unsigned 8-bit PCM. Then check the file's properties and make sure that it came out as 88 kilobits per second. To speed up this process, you can load in multiple tracks and then solo them. Once you're done, you still have another 10,000 years for the shipping to arrive, so spend your time making a martini. Open a bottle of wine, pour yourself a nice bottle of Yakult, and then dump it into some beer. Just relax. Enjoy your solace. You had a good day. Nothing could go wrong.
Oh great, it's here. Yay!
Before you start building anything, fire up your 3D printer. While you're enjoying your drink, I would suggest printing the base and the arms first. You can use practically any material. I chose to use PETG, but PLA works just as well. While that's printing, let's go through the pecking order. First, the resistors, 100 ohms and 10 kilo ohms. Add the most popular transistor around, but not to be confused with this transistor. The only difference is that the emitter and collector positions are swapped, so just flip one around and make sure that the emitter lies here. If you are using the hardwire method, you can skip this next part and right to this timestamp. Otherwise, on both Arduinos, you're going to want to remove the pins leading to D2, D3, D4, D5, and D7. Then solder both Arduinos to the board. I found that networking cables work best throughout this project. You could get a lot of them within just one strand, and the gauge and stiffness is just right. If you're not using the hardwire board, use the wires to jump the connections of the pins we removed between the two Arduinos. Make sure that you poke them all the way through and solder them to both the motherboard and the Arduino. Next is to attach the MicroSD card reader, and this little piece of flash has been debated my existence and also the reason why this project requires more than one Arduino. See, the problem occurs because the SD card reader is always communicating on the SPI line, which means that the RFID reader has no chance to talk to the Arduino. There does seem to be a workaround which involves drilling into the microSD card reader and also soldering really tightly to one of the pins. It might work, but it also might not, since...
Blah, just tell us how to make the dang thing, man!
Well, why don't you take over then?
Gladly!
You can attach the reader in two ways. You can use the pins that came with the set, or you can use some tiny wires. I prefer the latter because it's flexible and allows for ease of access to the Arduino. You might also want to carefully cut off this corner where the screw hole is to allow for more room. With the audio loaded onto the microSD card, go ahead and gently insert it into the reader. For this next part, it might be helpful to have a breadboard, and don't forget to check on your prints! Strip about 1.5 feet worth of Ethernet cable from your modem and wire up the right side of the board. You'll want to go from the bottom up to allow access to the Arduino's USB port. Make sure to trim the excess and note which color goes to which pinout. On a breadboard, connect the RFID reader and align each wire. Download the code from GitHub and flash the right Arduino with the RFID code. Open the serial monitor and scan in all 5 NFC tags and note the resulting IDs. Copy and paste them into the code between each quotation mark and reflash the Arduino. Test it by placing the NFC tag onto the reader, and if the monitor displays playing so-and-so, hurrah, it works! If you can't get a reading at all, make sure that all the connections are right and tight. The continuity function on a multimeter would help here. Plug into the other Arduino and flash it with the SD card code. Open the serial monitor again and place the chip on the RFID reader. A number should change depending on the character. Note, if you want to add more than 5 characters, you can edit the code to send and receive more than one signal. For example, if signal 1 was on and signal 2 was off, that means Trashman 1 is speaking. If signal 1 was off and signal 2 was on, then Trashman 2 is speaking. However, if signal 1 was on and signal 2 was also on, then Trashman 3 is speaking. The code is really simple, just really tedious the way that everything is spaghettified, so that means that this is kind of beyond the scope of this video, but if enough people comment down below, I might consider writing something about it. I don't know. Now on to the battery. If you're gonna go through the hardwire route, then go ahead and skip to this timestamp right here. If you happen to find the battery from 5 below, you can slowly crack the top off from the USB port and trim around the charging board. Just be sure to be extra careful and mind the battery lines. For a few of these trash mics, I have removed the plastic completely, but it's not really all that necessary. Just create enough space so that the charging board can move freely. Now do remember that this is a LiPo battery, so handle at your own own discretion and please exercise caution. We want to remove the USB port, and the easiest way to do so is to use some really sharp and pointy clippers and cut off the 4 ground mount. Bend it back and forth until the pins in the back break. Then use your iron and clean up the pad. The battery should come with a micro USB cable. Cut the USB portion off and trim the right side of the connector. This will allow everything to fit a bit better. You'd want to trim enough so that you could bend the cable to the right without protruding too much. You also don't want to trim it down too much to the point where you can see where the cable connects to the micro USB pins. Doing so will remove support to the cable, which can lead to breaks or shorts in the line. Notice the VCC on the left of the board. Wire the pin and tie it to the 5-volt line of the stripped USB cable. These wires can be soldered right to the switch, and the positive terminal on the battery's charging board can go on the pins adjacent. Solder the loose ground wire to the charging board's ground, and you're all set. Check up on your prints, but with a purpose this time. Once the arm and base are done, you can start assembling the speakers. Using 2 wires about 1.5 feet long, feed them through the arms starting from the bottom. It might take a few tries, and thin tweezers may help here deliver the wires through the exit hole. With both wires fed, feed them through the base and screw them together. Solder the wire to the speaker. It shouldn't matter the polarity, though some may think that wiring it properly will sound better. Look, it is an 8-bit unsigned PCM at 88 kilobits per second. You have better things to worry about. The bill of materials lists a small 8-ohm 5-watt speaker, and though it gets the job done, it's pretty quiet. If you're feeling adventurous, go outside and touch some grass and look for a broken TV on the side of the road. Bring home and scrap the speakers. Most TV speakers should be between 6 and 8 ohms and about 10 watts. They're also better built and gives more boom boom. Keep in mind though that the inlay was designed for these small speakers, so if you're using an upcycled one, make sure that it first fits within the base and that you resize the inlay. Insert the speaker into the inlay and use a generous amount of CA glue. After about an hour for the glue to cure, you can now screw the bottom cap to the base. Line up the holes and use these M2.3 screws or similar. Fix the outer bucket to the arms and lay it flat for stability. Now connect the speaker wires to the board. It doesn't matter which side is positive or negative. But it doesn't matter. If you want to add LEDs, use any 5-volt strip and connect the 5-volt to the plus and ground to the minus. If you have RGB, you can connect the colors all together to get a pseudo white. Lower everything into the can and maneuver the battery till the charging board properly aligns with the screw holes. I fastened the charging board with some M1.7 screws. I recommend using some double-sided tape on the batteries to secure them down. Time to fasten the switch down with some M2 nut and screws. This is probably the trickiest part of them all, but you can do it. I believe in you. Just grab your best pair of tweezers, put on a random podcast, and scream internally as the nut falls into every crevice and pocket dimension it could find. Almost there. Feed the RFID wires up the runner and twist the ends near the bend and apply some heat shrink tubing to protect the wires and, keep it neat. Feed them through the bottom half of the cap and cut at about an inch past the recess for the RFID sensor. Wire up the RFID sensor and turn it on. I like to remove this LED, but you don't really have to. You should now be able to test it at this point. Place one of the tags on the sensor, the lights should come on, and an audio should play. If it doesn't work, check all the connections and make sure that the pin I/O are correct and strong. The continuity test would also be helpful here. If everything is working, line the top half of the cap and screw it down with some M2.6 screws. It might also help to tape down the sensor during this part. Stand the mic up and slide in the inner can. You can slide the LEDs through one of the arm allowances and make sure that the can is gearing up with the arm. This was designed to lock the rotation at a certain point. Finally, you can make a hinge out of practically anything, like a paperclip or a wire. Bend one end into a C shape and feed the long end through the holes. With 2 needle nose pliers, bend the other end and lock the hinge in place. With that, done! Congratulations! You've completed the trash mic. Woo! If at any point throughout the video you felt like giving up, you can still get either one of these 2 trash mics. Just head over to the giveaway video if you haven't, or just go on there in general. Give it a look, give it a watch. It's pretty cool. Enter into the giveaway. Donate to charity. Enough said. Thanks for watching.